Hello and welcome to another video from Byte Analytics. In this video, we're going to step into the world of AI on the Azure Cloud Platform, and more specifically, we're going to look at speech services, and I'm going to walk you through how to get started with converting text to speech, otherwise known as TTS. So here I am in the Azure portal. I'm signed in with my account, and one of the first things I need to do is create a speech resource. You can think of the resource as an entry point into your services. So without that, you can't actually leverage the services provided by the Azure platform. So the first thing to do, let's go over here in the search bar and type in speech, and you should see speech services listed. Click on that. As you can see, I already have a speech services resource available. It's in the East US region, and it's on the free pricing tier, which is F0. In your case, if you don't have one already, click on the Create button, and that will open up a new blade with some options to fill in. Go ahead and fill in the options. The first one is the subscription. You should have a subscription available to you. Select or create a resource group, and this is where you can save your resource into for logical grouping. Pick the region, and the region is something which is geographically located close to where you are. Keep in mind, though, not every region supports all features and services on the Azure Cloud Platform, and keep that in mind. And the other thing you need to keep in mind is, if you notice here, I'm already using the free pricing tier as I showed you before, which is the F0, and that's why it's not available to me, at least in this region. So if I was to pick a different region, now you can see I can pick the free F0 pricing tier from the list. So experiment with this and see which option works best for yourself. Usually, as I said, it's something which is situated or located closer to where you are based. Give your resource a name, select the pricing tier, which is F0, click on Create, and then once the validation is done, click on Create again to deploy your resource. That should take a few minutes, and that should land you back here where you can see your resource listed. I've already got one created, as I mentioned, and I'm going to click on that, and that will take me to the overview page of my speech services resource. A few things to call out here. We can see the API kind is speech services. We can see the pricing tier is free, and we can also see the endpoint. Now, the endpoint is the entry point, or you can think of this as the front door to your property. So without having the front door, there's no way you can access your property. The next option is manage keys. You can think of this as the locks in order to guard and protect your front door from unauthorized access into your resource, i.e. your property. For now, though, we're going to click on Go to Speech Studio, so let's do that. And this will open up another screen with all the common and popular speech services listed out for you, grouped logically. So if we scroll down slowly, you will see speech to text and the various services. If I go further down, you should see text to speech and the various services. In our case, I'm going to click on Voice Gallery because this is where we want to test some of these services within the Azure portal itself. So you can see we have the language option here. We can pick from a huge array of languages. Currently, I'm on English United States, but you can pick from the huge list which is available to you. So let's leave that as it is for now. And going down below, I can see some personas, some voice templates which are available to me. I've got a female voice, a male voice, another female voice, and variations of different voices that I can pick from. So in my case, let's just click on Amanda, and hopefully that will give you.
Winnebago Industries is a company that manufactures motorhomes, travel trailers, and other recreational vehicles. Its stock ticker symbol is WGO, and it is traded on the New York Stock Exchange, NYSE. I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any other questions.
So that sample gives me an insight into what that voice sounds like. Maybe it's not quite my style, so let's go with Andrew. And if I click on Andrew, I can quickly test that.
The Matrix series is a classic sci-fi action franchise that explores the themes of reality, freedom, choice, and destiny. I have watched the first 3 films, but not for the 4th one yet. How about we watch it together tonight?
So that is another test of a male voice for Andrew. And if I go over to the right hand side here, something I want to draw your attention to, if I click on sample code, and although the window is quite small here, you can see I have a line which says config speech synthesis and then the name of the voice which is selected. And currently, as you can see, it's English, United States, Andrew Multilingual Neural. That is the dedicated name for this particular voice which I've selected. So keep that in mind. We're going to use that further down the line in an example. Okay, so for now, what I'm going to do is go to audio content creation. And this is where I can type in some text and actually get a flavor for how that sounds when the speech services narrates from text to speech. So here we are. I have a text box area to type something into. So I'm going to type in a welcome to Byte Analytics. I hope you are having a good day. Stick around and check out the cool features. Okay, hopefully I've typed that correctly. Let's see how that sounds within the Azure portal.
Hey, welcome to Byte Analytics. I hope you're having a good day. Stick around and check the cool features.
Okay, so that's quite interesting. And it's amazing how we've actually gone from text to spoken instruction, i.e., text to speech. So this is exactly how it will sound. But if I go over to the right hand side here, I have more options which I can use to effectively tailor my chosen voice to a particular style as well. There are numerous options here. I won't go through all of them, but to give you an idea, I have a speaking style available to me, so I can still change the language, I can change the speaking style, I can go from a relieved effect to a more empathetic tone in the voice. This is all dependent on which type of voice you've selected. And once again, I can change over to different personas. William, for example, I can check that as well. So let's click on William and let's play that back one more time.
Hey, welcome to Byte Analytics. I hope you are having a good day. Stick around and check the cool features.
Okay, so this is how you can effectively go from text to speech inside of Azure Cloud using speech services, and how we can use speech services and Speech Studio to test our desired output, get a feel for what it will actually sound like before we embed this in our third-party applications. Next up, I'm going to show you how we can make the call to the API, this speech service API, using Postman before we can actually embed this inside of our third-party applications. Okay, so now let's test our API call, our speech services text-to-speech API within Postman. If you're not familiar with Postman, then just for your reference, Postman is a lightweight tool you can use to send and test API calls without having to write too much code. In fact, it's quite graphical, it's quite visual, and it makes testing of your APIs extremely easy. So here I am in Postman, and I have already set up the request. So I will walk you through exactly what's going on here. At the top, we have a post request, and I am referencing the specified endpoint. This is not the endpoint you see on the overview screen of the speech service resource. This is a specialized endpoint. In case you're wondering where that is, you can access that on the official Microsoft documentation page. Let me see if I can surface that for you, which you can see here. This is the official documentation for text-to-speech REST API. And if you scroll down, you will see a list of endpoints which you can use in your code. So if you recall this one here, we're using East US, and you can see the East US text-to-speech speech.microsoft.com/cognitive services/v1. That is the particular endpoint we're using in this case. So let's go back to Postman here, and you can see that up there. So that's what's going on there. Next up, we have headers. So, headers are additional information which we can pass with our API request. They're not quite parameters because we have a specified or special section for parameters over here. Think of headers like the additional metadata about your message. So, the analogy I want to use here is that your endpoint is your address. That's your destination address where you want to reach or where you want to make a call. Your headers are the attributes or the additional metadata that you supply to be able to reach that address. Think of a letter. The letter needs to have an address on there. It needs to go to an address, but there might be other metadata on there, such as the stamp or the time it left or how the message needs to be conveyed, the format. In this case, we have a couple of attributes. We have the key to our resource. And you can see that up here. This is obviously sensitive information. For this example only, at the end of the video, I will be deleting or regenerating that key so that all this is wiped out and that no one can access that resource. For the moment though, and for your benefit, you can see the key value, which is, it's a key value pair. So you have a key and the value which corresponds to that key. Next up, we have the content type. This is telling Postman that we are actually using SSML, which is speech, synthesis, markup language, and XML. That's the message format. And the output format is that we want an MP3 file. That's the format that we want back from this request. So that goes into the header. We then have a section for the body. This is the actual message. Going back to the analogy of the letter, this is the message inside the letter. It's in SSML format, as we've already talked about in the headers. And then we've got our text here. Hey, welcome to Byte Analytics. I hope you are having a good day. Stick around and check the cool features. That's exactly what we tested back in the Azure portal within the studio. Notice here I've changed over the voice, so I've actually gone for a different voice here. This time I'm using English, Great Britain, as in United Kingdom, and then Sonia Neural. This is going to be a different voice. And with that, I can actually send this request. So I've set up my headers, which is the additional metadata. I've got my body, which is the actual message of what's going to be sent. And I've got my API specialized endpoint, which I've specified at the top. So if I click on send, you can see nothing apparently seems to happen. We do get an OK message that tells us request has been successful and that the server has responded to our request. So how can we actually get something back out of this to see if it's actually working or not? Well, if we go over here, so if I go ahead and choose send and download, this is now going to open up a file location. And in my downloads, I've created a special folder for TTS, text to speech. I've already saved this once, but I can overwrite that. So if I choose to save, it's now going to create a file for me in that specified location. Now, how do we test this then? So let me open up that file from the location. So if I double click that file, it attempts to load this in the media player. And let's just give it a moment to open.
Hey, welcome to Byte Analytics. I hope you are having a good day. Stick around and check the cool features.
Okay, so that is how Postman has sent and generated a file for us based on the request we've made using the information we've supplied. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how we can then embed the same code within our applications and make our applications AI ready, more intelligent, and more capable of responding to human needs. So that's how we can use Postman to test our API calls. So let me just go back here and remind ourselves what we're doing here. Let me just minimize this. You can see in the background there, we have the text which we are wanting to convert from text to speech. And once the request is executed, Postman then generates a file for us based on the information supplied. And before you know it, we have gone and created ourselves a file performing text to speech using Azure's AI speech capabilities. Remember, AI is growing at a phenomenal pace, so it's important to understand how you can leverage Azure's AI platform and AI services to make your applications more smarter and AI ready for the future.